Never in the history of the world have the merchants of obscenity had available to them the modern facilities for disseminating this filth. Disseminating this filth. The onslaught of the communist masters of deceit.
Pinko, Commie, Slutz. Pinko, Commie, Slutz. Pinko, Commie, Slutz. Pinko, Commie, Slutz.
Are we
Okay,
recording?
we are recording.
Okay, this is a literature podcast where we discuss the works of Franz Kafka.
Franz Kafka.
Yeah.
Monstrous vermin.
I do kind of want to do... I know someone who is doing this, so I can't do it now, but I read Moby Dick for the first time as an adult several years ago. But when I read it, I was like, what? This is this book? First of all, they just kill so many whales.
The first
It's a real bummer.
There are so many chapters. That was the big book that I tried to read when I was in third grade. I was 8 years old when I tried to read Moby Dick, and it was excruciating. They went over like every part of the boat, every part of the whale.
All the fish. Well, at the time they thought whales were fish.
Oh.
There's a lot of old-timey fish genealogy. But
And the one thing about it, like after just reading a shitload of Marxist literature where all the chapters are like 87 fucking pages long, I am enticed by the fact that they have like 3 or 4 page chapters.
Yeah, no, they have like 300 chapters in total.
I like to end on a chapter, and with a lot of Marxist literature, you can't do that because the chapters are long as fuck.
I heard you can really queerify that book. You can really gay it up.
Oh, Moby Dick?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, all you
Yeah.
got to do is focus on one Queequeg, which is my favorite character. He's the tattooed South Pacific gentleman who Ishmael shares an in-room with, which is something they used to do. They used to put 2 grown men who didn't know each other in the same bed at the inn. And that was just like normal.
Also, it's called Moby Dick.
Nice.
So there's that, too.
Nice. Anyway, hello. This is Pinko, Commie, Slutz. I'm Bunny.
I'm
again.
Steve.
I'm Marlo.
We're here again during the pandemic.
The national emergency.
Yeah, we're scratching and surviving.
Scratching my face.
But not yet waiting in a chow line. So that I'm quoting
Putting
the Good
my
Times
fingers
theme song.
in orifices, as you do.
We're grifting off it. I'm grifting on it.
I mean, I wish I knew how to grift on it. I'm kind of getting screwed. Shout out to all my freelancers and live performers.
Yeah, no, the gig economy is fucking up right now.
It sucks. I mean, they're saying could be a year of social distancing. And I'm like, what does this mean for stand-up comedy? We never have 200 people there.
I love social distancing, the term. It's such a dystopian term.
Yeah, it really is. Like, just creepy.
It just sounds like the culmination of the last 30 years of alienation.
I mean, it sounds honestly like some, like, misunderstood, like, Foucauldian or whatever, like, term of, like, self-care, this, that, or the other thing, but it's social distancing. It just has this very euphemistic quality to it for, like, this kind of, like, grandiose way of describing just sitting in your home and not talking to people.
Yeah, I could see it being just a way of avoiding somebody you don't like. I don't want to go out tonight, so what am I going to do? Oh, social distancing.
Well, what's the Scientology term for it? Scientology has
when they
disconnecting.
Disconnecting.
Yeah.
You disconnect from a suppressive person,
Yeah.
an SP.
Did you ever?
I'm not a Scientologist. I just
Did
know
you
a
ever
lot
go
about
into the
it.
Scientology church? I went.
I've never been in the center. I do have a fantasy about going there to take their stress test, but
I
being
went
like,
once.
everything's going great.
I went once. I saw the propaganda video, but I didn't take the stress test. Propaganda video was like, "What are your anxieties? Why don't you figure out what your anxieties are? And if you get rid of those anxieties, you'll be a better person and live a better life." And I was like, "I'm walking out of this. This is fun, but I don't want to pay money."
How soon do they make you pay money in Scientology?
I think it's like after, I don't know, stress test number 1, you get a freebie. Stress test number 2, $5. I don't know.
You know, I am fascinated with, there is a small cadre of ex-Scientologists who they've left the Church of Scientology, but they still practice the precepts, and I'm really fascinated with these people.
Oh, yeah.
Because, I
Free
mean,
Zone.
yeah.
Did you see Reza Aslan's thing on that?
No.
Reza Aslan 2 years ago had a show on like CNN or whatever that was like him just like learning about weird ass religions. It was actually like,
Oh, that sounds right up my alley.
yeah, no, I mean, I know you, and like, yeah, it was up my alley. It's definitely up your alley. Yeah, one of the episodes was specifically Free Zone Scientology.
Yeah, no, it was a great show, and we should bring it back. Free Reza Aslan.
Yeah,
It
no.
got canned because it was too racist.
Well, no, it got canned because I think he like tweeted something about like
Yeah.
the president being an asshole or something.
He got canceled because he was a meanie to the newly elected Donald Trump. After 8 episodes, and it was extremely like Orientalist though. It was going
But is
to
Reza Aslan allowed to Orientalize?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
the
well,
thing.
okay, the opening.
3 white people check
Yeah, okay.
in on whether he's allowed to.
I can like criticize the opening episode, which was about this like subcult of Hinduism in India that was a little meh. Also, I can criticize his Israel episode because it kind of glossed over a bit. But otherwise, it's a good show.
What's he up to nowadays?
He's like...
Is he just an internet
Does he
personality?
have coronavirus?
Well, he endorsed Elizabeth Warren like a week before she dropped out or something.
So brave, all these
Yeah.
pundits and celebs endorsing at the...
I mean, he's what you'd expect a Twitter Warren guy to be. He's
Getting Holocaust tattoos.
well, no, but like he's a professional.
Just in case you're not very online and not into,
Oh.
several former Warren staffers got the hex code for Liberty Green in Elizabeth Warren's handwriting tattooed on them. But, oh boy, doesn't it look like a Holocaust tattoo.
And it remind me what Liberty Green is again. It
The
sounds like
color of the Statue of Liberty.
It also, there was some campaign of the past that used it as their color. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I know there was some kind of like meaning, like this is got precedent, but like, oh, we're different.
What about the one person that tattooed like blood and teeth onto their?
Oh, on to their shaved
Well,
head.
Okay, what is the
Head.
story behind Blood and Teeth? Because
Blood
I
and
was
Teeth.
gonna read that article, but then it was long and I didn't.
The article that prompted them to put it in their Twitter handles was basically saying the line that it comes from is Elizabeth Warren's campaign chose Bailey, the dog, over Blood and Teeth. And Blood and Teeth references something Elizabeth Warren had said a little while back, essentially something about how you're approaching, like going after these billionaires, etc. And this was coming from a former Warren staffer who I guess had felt disappointed that they kind of went with a cutesy angle vis-a-vis Bailey the dog, who some people feel was bought specifically and only for the campaign.
Oh yeah, but I mean we always do that.
But I'm like, whatever, get dogs. I don't care how you get them.
There was actually some speculation on Twitter about how Joe Biden bought a dog like some years ago, and there is a picture of him from the day he bought the dog, and there has not been a picture of the dog ever since.
Oh,
So he's
God.
gonna get the Pete Buttigieg treatment of
Where's your dog?
the dog
Joe?
killer. He's the dog killer?
Yeah, I mean,
Are we
I don't
starting
know.
that rumor right now?
Or he just gave the dog away immediately.
I don't know. I mean, it seemed like the kind of thing that in the past would be able to get traction, but I feel like nowadays, who knows?
So we all have coronavirus.
You know what, guys? I got a secret to tell you. I never get sick. I get allergies, things of that nature, but I cannot tell you the last time I had a flu-like sickness at all. You know, I'm just a carrier is what I'm saying. I'm just giving it to people, I think.
Typhoid Mary, baby.
That's me. Gosh, now I'm irritated about this Liberty Green. Where'd she get it from? I know I had read it. I feel like it's cringy who she got inspired by is the only reason I want to look it up. Might not be cringy. It might be
Oxidation
cool.
of copper on the Statue of Liberty. Yeah, I mean, it's
I'm
super
really-
lame. Like,
Well, no, I actually don't think it's that lame. I think the left should put more effort into aesthetics and uniformity when it comes to campaigns and signage and graphic design.
That's
one
what
of
the
the
red flag is for. That's what all the... Yeah, I mean, say what you
Communism
will about the
is so
Soviet
good at that.
Union.
Well-
They like their aesthetics.
Anyway, so I know a lot of the things that Steve and I had talked about, wanting to talk about, now seem like they happened a bazillion years ago.
So long ago.
It's, well, you know what? Let's just work backwards. Did you guys watch the press conference from today, Friday the 13th, from our president?
I was watching it on the way over here.
So what I thought was
did not.
interesting. So this is when Trump declared a state of emergency. Essentially announced that all of these businesses were going to coordinate and allow for drive-through testing
in their parking lots. Because what else could we possibly have?
Yes, what I felt was creepy was Mike Pence spoke right after Trump, and Mike Pence addressed his whole statement to President Trump. Like, he wasn't talking to the American people.
Oh, yeah,
the
yeah,
whole
they do
time
that.
he was like, President Trump made such a great decision.
Yeah, he did
and
say
President Trump was so great. And President Trump started this amazing public-private partnership. He said it so many times, public-private partnership.
He also addressed old people. He talked a lot about, he's like, our grandmas, they gave us clothing and food. Now they're old and probably going to get sick. We need to help them with our public-private hybrid.
I did feel like it was super fashy for Pence to essentially aim his whole statement in the guise of praising our great leader Donald
I mean,
Trump.
that is-
Like there are some things that I now feel intentional, and I don't know if I said it last week, but my big fear with all of this is that they're going to flat out postpone the general election or attempt to.
Cannot imagine that happening. But
Everyone says that.
Matt, can you edit in some of Pence?
Thank you, Mr. President. It is because thanks to your leadership from early on, Mr. President, from early on, you put the health of Mr. President, we've been working. Mr. President, you have forged a seamless partnership, public and private partnership. Mr. President, you said public-private partnership. As the President said, Mr. President, I want to join you in thanking Walmart and CVS and Target and Walgreens, LabCorp and Quest and Roche, Mr. President.
Facilitated by Google.
yeah,
They're already talking about delaying the primaries.
well,
They already
they
delayed.
are in Louisiana.
That's swamp country.
Yeah,
Sorry,
but
Louisiana.
I mean, honestly, like at the end of the day, like that's always how they've dealt with Trump. Is he needs to specifically hear people kissing his ass. He's always been that way. Yeah, that's not the first time even that's happened. I remember several.
Oh, no.
speeches
It's
where-
definitely not the first time, but it just struck me as particularly fascist today.
Yeah.
And then to have everybody else there, it was just store people.
It was CEOs. And by the way, for those that don't know, my day job is working for those store people. I deliver medications from Rite Aid and Walgreens, drive around, give old, sick people their medications. And let me tell you, it's popping off. And I expect that with all of this new public-private grift that they got. That's got to be it. It's got to be a grift. There can't be any other reason why they wouldn't just do a public service, why they would just try to dystopianly just make all of our lives now we got to go to Walgreens and Rite Aid and CVS in order to get tested through a drive-through. That's just going to empower those corporate interests.
That's exactly what it is. It's essentially lots of people's lives being disrupted, their sources of income being disrupted, and then just a guarantee that these corporate entities are going to stay open for you. So it's very like
sacrificing retail employees, sacrificing workers for the comfort of professional managerial class people. I mean, that's what we're doing.
The good thing about my job is that none of my stores have a single parking lot, so that's good.
Yeah, none of them have parking lots.
None of them have parking lots.
So you're never getting tested.
I'm never... Where are they going to put, like, tents out in front of them now? Like, I don't know.
I do know that it seems that other countries are handling it better. And a lot of those other countries that have handled it better, communists.
Yeah, we were just arguing about
also
this.
Italy, but yes, China.
Well, I don't know.
Italy has...
Greece only has like
33 cases, and they're like, we're popping off.
They're like, we're shutting everything down, but that's just Greeks. They're like, any chance to take a siesta.
Well, Italy has a strong social democratic system.
I mean, they all do.
I mean, when I was over there, you could go to... all of the EU has a good health sector.
Right.
You could just go over there. But yeah, they shut down the entire country, and so did Greece.
Well,
so
Greece, I think it makes sense because there's so many.
What does that mean, though? Like, can I go outside in Italy? What's going on?
Stores are closing at 6 p.m. You're not encouraged to leave your apartment. All the schools are closed. Pretty much all, the institutions are closed during the day except for the health sector. Can you leave the country?
I was asking if I could leave the house.
I think
it's like kind of village by village.
Yeah, it's prioritized, definitely. Like if you have a reason, you can go out, but otherwise you're encouraged to stay in. And there's heavy policing of the curfew.
Yeah. The only time I've ever dealt with something like that was when I was in Baltimore in the aftermath of the Freddie Gray uprising. They instilled a curfew on Baltimore City. It was really weird.
Does anyone else remember when they were like hunting down the Baltimore Marathon bomber and like
Boston Marathon?
Boston Marathon bomber, and they basically
don't give anyone any
Baltimore
ideas.
doesn't have a marathon. Does it?
I don't even. Yeah, I believe there is one, but I don't think it would be a target for.
Don't believe there is a Baltimore Marathon.
I mean, it would be such an inside job if someone bombed the Baltimore Marathon.
Yeah, but anyway, does anyone else remember this? Where like literally they ordered every human to stay inside in all of Boston?
I do remember. It was weird.
Yeah, because like I remember I was in law school at the time, and I remember like going to my roommate who was also in law school, going, "How can they do that? Is that legal?" And he's like, "Yeah, I have no idea. Never an explanation for that. Just did it."
I don't know. All this stuff is freaking me out. I do consume a little too much conspiracy theory for fun, and I hate it when reality encourages me almost to consider it earnestly. But I will say the conspiracy theorists online, specifically the QAnon crowd, they're kind of split on this. They, half of them are kind of optimistic in a weird way, and they think coronavirus is a cover for some kind of justice force covertly culling all of these powerful people involved in the pedophile rings. So they're like, watch out for all of the...
Thanks, Billy Zane.
This is the problem, because it can't be them. Also, Tom Hanks, Billy Zane getting coronavirus makes me very concerned with our Greek and Greek-adjacent celebrities. Rita Wilson, Tom Hanks' wife, Greek. He's a Greek citizen. Billy Zane,
John
Greek.
Stamos.
Yeah. Is John Stamos okay?
Stavros.
Yeah. I feel like Stav's immune, if anybody is. I'm worried that, check on Jennifer Aniston, everyone, because she's had a rough week. In the aftermath of the Weinstein verdict, it came out that Harvey Weinstein had said he wanted to murder Jennifer Aniston.
Weinstein?
Yeah.
Weinstein.
Yeah,
Weinstein.
Weinstein.
Did I say Weinstein?
Well, okay, now we need to make fun of
Oh
said
my
Weinstein.
you just pulled a Corbin. Corbin got made fun of saying, what was it?
Well, it's because I used to work.
Weinstein.
I used to work for a
Weinstein
family.
or something.
Weinstein.
And
Well, I
that
used to work for a
was-
family, and they were very definitively Weinstein. And instead of
fair enough,
Weinstein.
you can kind of pronounce it either way, as Mel Brooks has taught us.
The other night when they announced, when our big sweaty boy announced the no European airplanes, which I just imagine him with airplanes in his hand, like, whoo, no more of you. But he did that. I had just started watching 28 Days Later, and I had to pause the movie to see his announcement that we were no longer flying in planes from Europe, and then restarted the movie to them explaining how they'd quarantined off of Britain. So I feel like I'm living in 28 Days Later, and I'm just wondering when you cats think.
I was thinking because actually the UK is not, and the rest of Ireland, because they're different countries, I'm told, was not a part of the travel ban. It's kind of actually becoming more like 1984, not the shitty whatever the fuck Stalinism allegory, but just the lore of the major superstates.
So Steve just pulled up something that says Google says it's not building a website for finding out corona testing, which was what was indicated today during the press conference, correct?
Yeah, that was
the huge part of it.
Big rollout.
Also, they didn't mention Amazon at all.
He hates Amazon.
Yes, but Amazon stands to benefit from
Everyone's
this.
going to be watching Prime for the next 2 weeks when they're at home.
Two, how pathetic is it that Jack Ma sent money to help us get testing and our own billionaires can't do shit? That's why we should kill him. When are people going to get it? When are people really going to get there? Because it's sort of too obvious at this point that
the rich don't care about the poor.
Yeah. Speaking of which, how fun was this week in the stock market?
Oh.
Woo! What a week in big money town.
Celebrate good times.
Yeah.
Come on.
Inject $1.5
I want to point
Bam, it's gone
out
in a
real
half hour.
quick that on Monday, the Wikipedia article for Black Monday 2020 was up before trading had ended on that same day. So there was already a historical Wikipedia article about it.
And it dropped again on Wednesday.
And apparently, it's even worse than it was then.
Well, we put all that money in, and it evaporated within an hour.
Didn't it rally today? Was that what I read? That after the press conference.
That was the whole point of the press conference, though. If you notice, all of it was about appeasing investors, subtly, and less about the American people.
Because I saw that something ridiculous.
Yeah, I think it's going to rally after it had 2 days of historic drops anyway. Also, all those drops were premised on the fact that the administration has been saying all of nothing all week. So when they say literally anything, it's going to come up a bit.
I saw some picture that was really fucking weird on my way over here of the readout, the stock market up and down, and Donald Trump signed the piece of paper showing.
Oh yeah, I saw that too.
Gave it to Lou Dobbs as a gift.
Yeah, I saw that on Twitter too. He signed the stock tracker, I guess.
Yeah,
one would call that. I don't know that nerd shit.
I would call it
the line
scribble,
the line that goes up and down.
Yeah.
In his
you mean the line that went up for an hour after we put 1.5 trillion? I can't get over it. It's if you haven't looked this up, the graph that shows we put almost enough that could, as is mentioned on Twitter many times, almost enough that could cancel all student loan debt, almost enough that could give us all the social programs that we've been talking about. And it only lasted about under an hour before it just dipped back down again. And I like how we act like it's this entity. The way people talk about the market, let's put this money in it and see what'll happen. And it's insane to me when, obviously, it's insane when we have a very real public health crisis. And you just gotta laugh, guys. I gotta tell you, all of this stuff happening, it's making a lot of people panic, but it is making me super horny. I don't know why. I'm excited to see what's going to happen because everything seems to clarify further and further how unsustainable and illogical our current system is and how shitty capitalism is at dealing with any of this.
And apparently, New York late night shows will go dark next week. They are not even doing the no audience thing anymore.
Is that what you call the libidinal economy?
Okay, so all these shows are going dark. All of live performances are going dark. Broadway's going dark.
I think the next step is going to be quarantine off Manhattan. I know it's probably not going to happen because literally New York would starve if it couldn't get food from the outside after 2 or 3 days. We're 10 days behind Italy at this point, and they quarantine their whole country, on our timeline, a week down the line. If there's going to be a quarantine, it'll probably happen in the next week, and then I won't be able to travel here.
Yeah,
to New Jersey.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'll be stuck in Jersey City, and I won't be able to get to my job. I guess I'll work remotely.
The bridges and tunnel people, that is a huge fucking part of the economy in New York.
Oh, we have no plans. We have
we're a series of islands with zero resources of our own. It's actually pretty funny.
They're gonna have to airdrop it. If that happens, it won't happen. I saw Bill de Blasio saying, stop spreading rumors about a quarantine because... which is only making you think...
Yeah, Bill de Blasio
obviously
tweeted,
they've talked about it.
Wilhelm
tweeted in all caps, the rumors of a quarantine of the island of Manhattan are not true, which is the first time anyone heard rumors of a quarantine of the island of Manhattan.
I had been spreading them for days before that, but only amongst close friends.
Yeah, and also, ever since, Escape from New York, the limited run comic series DMZ, the idea of New York being cut off from the rest of society has always been an obvious thought.
Look, a big part of this whole situation is how some people, they want this to happen. Oh boy. They want an external force forcing them to slow it all down. And I don't blame them, honestly. We have a terrible society that encourages people to...
had something on that?
Yeah.
Sorry, but yeah, the whole desire of disaster in late capitalism because our lives are so fucking meaningless that we need struggle to make our lives meaningful. So we just
it's also
yearn for struggle.
It's also the same kind of thing you get out of a snow day where you're kind of relieved of your responsibility.
It's relief of responsibility and also the solidarity of knowing that everyone else is going through exactly the same thing, which we don't remember someone mentioning it where it's I could do with just one more 9/11 because it feels nice to just everyone collectively just cries together for a week.
I mean, the aftermath of 9/11 was a really collective experience. It's something.
Yeah.
No, I mean that's not.
So was Sandy. Let's not forget Sandy. I was in bars that were candlelit talking to people who acted like they never saw each other for the first time, was talking to their neighbors There
We're
was
just
a
so
nice...
fucking disconnected and alienated, and like the only excuse to not be that is to just have thousands of people die, and that's what we need apparently because we can't just.
Well, I don't
talk to
think
people.
it's just that. I think going back to the Baudrillard, I think as somebody who's worked in the health sector now adjacent, but also in journalism, there's this drive towards like a death culture of like figuring out both who's going to get it next, how is somebody going to profit off of it, how are we going to survive via profit, and that's where my brain was conditioned to think, well, how does my job deal with it? Talking about it with one of my roommates, and I told him, my job is popping off because I bring medications to old people, and he's like, I might want to interview you for my newspaper because I want to do a series on people who are profiting off of this or, actually increasing how much they're making during the day instead of losing it, because that's interesting to my readership.
Of course, there are the people who are like hoarding Lysol wipes or sanitizer and selling it on
Toilet
eBay.
paper.
And everything like that. But I'm also, what's really interesting to me is the disruption in so many workplaces I've ever been in. The entire impetus is how can we increase profits for the shareholders, even if it's not communicated directly, that is the bottom line, the ultimate bottom line in a lot of places. And that single focused thing has warped so many things. And when we have a situation like this that actively prevents business as usual, it really highlights how stupid all of these things are and how we all would benefit as a society from everyone's basic needs being met in normal life and in a time of crisis. One, in a broad view, I don't think we're ever going back to normal, quote unquote, as in what people speak about going back to normal.
Joe Biden.
Returning to normal, restoring decency to the White House. Like, we're never, ever, ever, ever going back to normal. We are irrevocably changed. And I'm starting to suspect that this situation and whatever's coming for us is going to continue to change us. And we're going to be so different. I feel bad for the Gen Xers. The boomers obviously want things to go back to normal, but the people who make me sad personally are the Gen Xers who are just a little older, but they seem to really think that there's a possibility that we could just go back to normal.
Well, that, I think, transitions into the Joe Biden discussion that I think we have to have.
I guess we have to have. We got to talk about old Joe.
Because I also watched his...
7 minute.
No, it was 18 minutes of 18 minutes of responding to coronavirus pageantry. And it was a window into a very, in a way, old school video. Like it felt like a bygone era. Somebody who,
and that probably comforted a lot of people.
Who's running in the 90s or 2000s, speaking about how the coronavirus doesn't see race.
Oh yeah,
doesn't see class, doesn't see ethnicity, doesn't see.
Which the undertext is, wouldn't it be great if it did? Because then less people would die.
Yeah. If it was...
if the coronavirus only killed black people, the death rate would be lower. So I'm just saying, guys.
And we all know, we've all read the internet, the coronavirus isn't affecting black people. I read it.
Yeah, apparently.
That is currently a rumor. The Hoteps online, which...
Yeah, the Hoteps online are saying that.
Said, please, black people are less susceptible, but also get 3 months of... supplies.
John McAfee said that. That was pretty sweet.
As well. I like to keep track of all the
There's apparently been like 3 cases in all of Africa I read an article headline that I could not tell if it was like South Africa's version of The Onion or not, but the headline was only case of corona in South Africa turns out to just be a hangover. Seemed oniony, and then I clicked on the rest of the website, and it seemed like it was an actual news source.
Oh
so
man, that could get some great.
Very confused about that.
Oh.
But yeah,
That
no.
it is the plague to scourge the white race.
I mean, it wouldn't be the worst thing if we did a little. There was a little reverse smallpox, I guess.
Reverse Tuskegee, I believe that is called.
I don't know. Oh gosh, I don't know. I mean, I guess we're all talking very flippantly because we're not yet in a space where we're dealing with a lot of deaths that we're knowing of.
Oh yeah,
And
this is gonna reflect terribly
This is gonna
on all
be
of us.
terrible. This will be the
now.
episode we delete.
Yeah,
Once-
no, this is
the episode that we double down on.
We double down on.
Next
we
week.
hope coronavirus kills all the old white people.
This is the
Oh, boy.
This is the one that goes viral. Ha ha.
LOL.
LOL, guys. Oh my God. I don't know. I feel like now's the time for a good orb update. Since we're talking about health and healing, the orbs, Marianne Williamson going strong at making some of the most cogent statements on what's going on of anybody, which I love that aspect of this timeline. She put out a coronavirus meditation.
What was the thing about the penises?
Oh, so somebody edited it to, because she does have a meditation where she talks about like bringing light into your whole body, into different parts of your body, and she's like, imagine the light coming into your buttocks, into your penis, into your whatever. So they cut it and made it look like the coronavirus meditation was just about focusing light on your genitals.
Coronavirus, we pray that it be dissolved with healing, with healing, with healing. Your cervix, your penis, your vagina, your buttocks, your colon. Go wash your hands. Thanks.
Lovely Marianne tweeted about thinking about all the people praying for penises out there because she's a real one. I have been trying to keep track of the anti-vaxxers and whatever. Marianne is not an anti-vaxxer, FYI. And in her coronavirus meditation statement, she advocated for a vaccine against coronavirus and that it should be free once it is developed. Anyway, but the people who are anti-vaxxers, I'm very curious in how they are dealing with a public health crisis. Basically, most of them are saying, I ain't gonna get tested. So that's the real difficulty.
Good plans.
That's the real difficulty is like, personally, I don't love the doctor. I don't love it. It's a tremendous amount of emotional work for me to even nut up to make the appointment go, etc. So when things are difficult, when obtaining care is not simple and easy and almost forced upon me, it's like, oh God, it'd be so easy to make the decision to not seek it out. And I say that to bring up that there are probably tons of people out here who have a similar kind of anxiety, etc., who, if there is any cost associated with the test, will not get tested, and even if they're symptomatic, etc. And because you
Ride it out. Ride or die.
Then you have people who also are just not, suspicious, and they're not going to go. So
The other thing is you can't get tested. I got
Yeah.
an email
You can't right
from
now.
City MD that said, don't come to us if you just want to be safe and you think you have one of the symptoms, because we can't test you. We don't have the resources. If you're actually sick and you have actual sickness, you can't function, then come. But we do not have the capacity to come into a City MD, just get mobbed by 30,000 people who sneezed once and
Well, yeah, and then I think another element of this is places like CityMD or urgent care centers have become the primary place where a lot of people are obtaining any kind of care because they're either uninsured or they have shitty insurance that makes it really difficult to go see a regular doctor. I saw a lot of suggestions about call your primary care physician if you're concerned, and most of my friends are like, who that? Is it that person I saw at CityMD? Because it's not. And I know I'm currently technically insured, but the insurance I have is so incredibly opaque. It's Blue Shield of California, but I live in the New York City area. So it's really difficult to try to find who takes this insurance because when you go to the website, they're like, you ain't in California, bitch. And then every time I call them, they're like, yeah, why don't you just do Teladoc? And it's such a frustrating experience that I can bear. I've just only got the bare minimum of women's health care for myself. I just don't go because it's so difficult. So if I were to get sick, I don't even know who I would call. I'd probably call my friend she'd be offended that I got this wrong. I'd call my friend who's a physician's assistant. And there's some kind of beef I apparently between nurse practitioners and physician's assistants. I would call her and I would be like, what do you think I should do? Like, I literally, I feel like a lot of people, they're relying on that one person they know who's in the medical or medical adjacent field.
You're just going to have to wait until CVS has a parking lot has a drive-by.
I am concerned that once the testing's made available, either we're not going to get an accurate assessment of positive cases, or we are, and then people are just gonna like really freak out. If this is as contagious as it appears to be in other places, I don't know. Also, I think it's like dope as shit. It's not killing no kids, guys. Under 9, like no deaths. It's all old people and random middle-aged people. I don't want to, spread misinformation.
Over 60.
But it's mostly over 60. But if you have a respiratory issue, it is especially dangerous. So, I don't know, guys. I'm washing my hands. Now, nobody's making fun of me for having a huge bottle of isopropyl alcohol in a spray bottle.
I'm wearing latex gloves.
I am allergic to latex. Mm-hmm. How dare you? I got to use nitrite, I think, is the material.
Marlo, do the tankies have any hot takes?
No, not really.
Well, speaking of tankies, though, I did want to circle back to how well China, the Communist Party of China, seems to have handled this situation. I have a friend who is an expat.
I mean, a few jailed journalists notwithstanding.
Well, okay, we're not, all right. It's not everything, okay? We're talking about the specific situation, but I do have a friend who lives in China, came back about a month ago. He's self-quarantined. He's fine, but he very much felt safer in China and how they were approaching it than he feels here with the response here. And I wanted to bring it back to Cuba as well, because Cuba's developed supposedly. I don't know.
Yeah, I've heard a few conflicting things on that Cuba is merely working on an antiviral.
But they have...
They're using an antiviral that had already existed that isn't for COVID, and they're trying to modify that so it works for COVID.
Which we cannot access.
Yeah.
I just want to point that out. They also have a vaccine for lung cancer. They have the beginning stages of such a thing. Because of the embargo, we can't, even if they come up with something great, guess what? We can't get none here in the States. So that's pretty sweet of us to...
Didn't you have something about Israel
I think Israel tweeted out today that they were like on the cusp of developing a vaccine for corona. I'll see if I can find the tweet. It might not have been like the Israeli government itself, or could have been someone else just trying to promote Israel. But it was done very much as this like, oh, wow, yeah, Israel's always great. They always have such like, they like have such great advances in science or whatever. Apparently, Israel had happened to be developing a vaccine prior to the outbreak, and they had happened to use corona as their like base virus for the vaccine. I don't know exactly how all that works, but
because it's a king virus,
right? But the point is, it looks as if Israel knew about the corona outbreak before the corona outbreak occurred, which for many of the Jews of the world is the sort of thing that can cause conspiracy theories.
Oh boy, because let me tell you, as the resident conspiracy theorist expert,
and as the resident Jew,
99% of conspiracy theories find their way back to being anti-Semitic.
Yeah, no,
somehow it finds a way.
No, it very much smacks of the like, oh, did you know there were no like Jewish bankers in the World Trade Center when they went down kind of deal? Like everyone
Is
got
that true? Kidding.
Yes.
I'm just kidding. I'm just joking.
Yeah, no, it really like kind of has that like feel to it, and it, like the way the tweet was written, it was almost inviting people to make those leaps. So yeah, I don't know.
I wouldn't put it past Mossad.
Well, yeah, but like no, no.
What was China was accusing America of infecting the country with the virus.
Yeah, I mean, again, whenever that kind of news comes out, like, I don't know what China was accusing means, or if someone in China said a thing.
I think it was possibly someone in China said a thing, but also it's not without merit, as a lot of people are claiming the last big pandemic of this level. A lot of people are saying it was Spanish flu, but Spanish flu is simply called Spanish flu because Spain was the first country that was honest about what was going on.
Well,
so they got associated with the word.
Yeah, no, because it was during World War I, and every other country in Europe had this strict media blackout, and only Spain was neutral, so the news was coming out of Spain.
But there is evidence that particular strain of influenza actually came from these here United States.
All right,
originally,
this is a
Kansas.
Pretty illuminating tweet. Beijing has suggested that coronavirus was brought to China by the U.S. military and has claimed that Washington has something to hide. It might be U.S. Army who brought the epidemic to Wuhan. Be transparent, tweeted Zhou Lijian, the foreign ministry spokesman. Make public your data. U.S. owe us an explanation.
Okay, that's just China trolling. That's honestly... Yeah, the Chinese government is not actually saying that America did that. The Chinese government is saying that these are the standards America holds us to, and doesn't it sound silly when it's on the other foot?
I did hear it in like a racist Nick Mullen voice.
I could see you fighting to read it as respectfully as possible, but also read it verbatim. You know what? Big ups. To you, Steve.
that was a struggle against my own internalized racism.
I mean, a lot of people feel as though it was created in a lab and then it got out and they didn't know what it could do, which I'm into. I'm into the idea that we're accidentally cratering the world economy. with a misguided virus that isn't killing little babies. I keep coming back to that because the little articles I've read that's actually just focused on the perplexing nature of this particular virus and how it doesn't behave the same way as similar viruses and et cetera. So I don't know. There's talk that this could be a really long time of social distancing. There's also talk that this could be a seasonal issue. There could be a coronavirus season.
That was something Trump said early on, was that, it'll go away once it gets warmer.
And then it'll come back conveniently in time to postpone the general election. I just have no confidence in our any politician or force that is quote unquote anti-Trump. I do not think they will do anything fast enough should Trump actually.
You have to do a public program. You can't just private and public your way into this, because that's what got us into this financial crisis in 2008. But we just need a better public health sector. There's no two ways about it. And to jerk us around with CVS and bullshit is just taking half measures and putting all the power into the hands of corporate interests.
Also, what the fuck is Google supposed to do? I didn't see this goddamn speech.
Google was supposed to make a website.
They're supposed to make a website, which I believe, this is my personal theory, I believe the intention of Trump putting it this way was one layer of, we're going to get Google to build it, so then this website won't have the problems of the Obamacare website, etc. So he's making all these statements about all these corporations that are partnering up with them, and he keeps saying that Google's going to build this website, and then a few hours later, Google's no, we did not. We never said that.
What the fuck is the website? This just
it's
sounds
where
it's
supposed to be an exchange where you can find your closest testing place once it's going.
You put in your symptoms. Okay, so say hypothetically.
So WebMD?
Yeah. So hypothetically, I have, headaches and a 98-degree fever.
This is just the fucking classic of just Silicon Valley brain. What the fuck do I want a website for? Why would I want that?
This is like a Band-Aid. This is like a Band-Aid in a health sector that's running out of Band-Aids.
None of the people in the Trump administration seem to have any clue the potential of this issue, and they're scrambling. They're only thinking about the stock market. They are not thinking about anything else. That whole pomp and circumstance today was simply to try to, alleviate the anxiety of investors and et cetera. It's hilarious.
I think it works perfectly within larger framework of their ideology. This is what a free market capitalist would do.
And it's going to fail so hard. It's going to be so explicit. I think.
What I read is that it has a high potentiality for working under assumptions, because I think each country's making different assumptions about how bad the virus is. Italy shut down the whole country because they wanted to contain it, and just the best way to do that is not let anybody go out. I think Britain is assuming that most people will get it, so the way that they're containing it is by some other system, and this is kind of not at all working within a public, not at all empowering workers. He did say something about writing off some of
Oh, they are pausing student loan debt. It's indefinitely paused.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Student loan debt.
Really?
Yeah.
I think it's only the interest.
I think it's only the
on it.
interest but indefinitely paused.
Really?
Yes, that he did say that. Yes, that
Okay.
was kind of the first thing he said. It does go to show you that our government could make all of these decisions very quickly if they wanted to. We have not had people start to really die yet, and that's going to really shift things. Right now, it's all this anticipatory kind of energy, and I believe there's been one death here in the States.
I thought there was more.
There's been more than one death in the United States.
Yeah.
200?
200.
Yeah.
altogether. I know
in New York alone, I think there's been at least 40 to 50.
Yeah.
deaths.
Yeah, no, the people are dying from. I mean, like, yeah, compared to like, you know, the flu or whatever. Like, sure, it's not at those levels yet, but like, decent number of people are dying of this shit.
But it's not yet. You don't know anybody. You don't know. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to get to a point where we're all going to know somebody. At least that's
who
how
has
they're
it or has
yes.
died from it.
So once that happened, and once people who die who don't fit the framework that we're working in, where they're either very old or immunocompromised, where it's kind of it seems random that a younger person might die. I feel like people are going to really freak out. People already are so in the dark about their own health and all of these practices that it's going to be a really revealing time. I guess better learn how to record podcasts remotely.
Yeah.
I don't want to go about my business in a way that makes other people freak the fuck out. That's how I'm thinking about it now.
I'm kind of Shaun of the Dead in this shit, where if the world's ending, I'm going to be at a bar. I like bars. I know the layout.
They put a curfew on ours over here. We're
not in Brooklyn yet, so...
God damn.
How have you guys felt about Bernie's response?
The several... I was delighted today. It was good. I am into it because he's giving a lot of cogent, practical information. He is emphasizing in a very real way the need for programs like Medicare for All, to deal with paid sick leave, universal child care. Like all of these things, they all come together holistically when we look at a crisis like this. And I think he's doing a good job of explaining that, but I'm the choir he's preaching to. So I don't know. I do know several people who have reached out to me to tell me that this situation has changed how they thought about Medicare for All. And yeah, that's anecdotal, but it's a handful of people who are not shitheads who were like, fuck Bernie, blah, blah, blah. But they had, I don't know if it's realistic and blah, blah, blah. And this situation has sort of made it clear that it's not about what's realistic in some fucking imaginary, future politics. We're playing chess here. It's actually... we needed it yesterday.
Yeah, and it's also not just like about delivering medicine. It's about having a unified system that like we can actually track and like even for those fucking like lib brain like Sorkin brain fuckers like out there who like
those people
who like their numbers, who like their data points and all that bullshit. That's easier to do if there's a unified system.
Hell yeah. And this
is the controversy about Bernie's like health records or whatever. Like part of the issue is there's no such thing as health records in America.
Yeah, we have no uniform standard.
That doesn't mean anything because healthcare is just whatever any doctor is doing in this anarchic system.
That's another thing, like why the Chinese were so successful in comparison is that they actually have centralized
panopticon's worth of fucking information about every goddamn thing that happens in their country.
And it's extremely centralized. It is a centralized bureaucracy in a almost Brazil-like fashion.
If that would be the movie, not the actual country Brazil, which is probably not as centralized.
No, but also Bolsonaro may or may not have
coronavirus.
Yeah, no one knows if Bolsonaro has coronavirus.
At this taping, we might know.
Literally, we'll never know. Seemingly, everyone who has come into contact with Trump in the last week has coronavirus, except for Trump, possibly.
Trump's never taken that test, one. He's going to let his organs dissolve.
Well, that's the thing. Again, they're going to be... he'll take the test at one point, but it'll be like one of those things where like Mike Pence will have to act like it was Trump's idea to take the test. And like he'll be like, oh, wow, it's a really good idea. You had to show solidarity with your supporters and the American people by taking the test, and he'll be like, "Oh yeah, no, that was a brilliant move on my part, even though I know I don't have coronavirus." And like, that's how we'll get them to take the test. It's just one of those things.
But I think going back to the centralized to decentralized, like a lot of the rhetoric coming out of both the neoliberal left and the far right is that the less centralized our bureaucracy is, the more freedom we have. And that's a general critique that they make on Medicare for all, even if they don't say it explicitly. They're saying if we centralize these businesses, there will be less profits. If we centralize the hospitals and if we centralize like these major sectors of our economy, then we'll lose money and therefore freedom. But this really highlights why we need it to be centralized, like why the profit motive to get people health care is inadequate at doing its diligence. Like it is an inadequate system to actually get public safety and public health, and a centralized government-run healthcare would effectively do that and has effectively done that.
I don't see any scenario where America adopts a more centralized healthcare where people do not still have the freedom to just not fucking go. like even in this scenario, say we had an actual good centralized organizing body, for most people, it would make everything safer, better, whatever. But you'd still have people who would be like, I ain't fucking doing it. And they wouldn't. And that's fine. You know, like, yes, it's not fine if it was a scenario where every single person must get tested and like, we need this data to live. But just in general, like this idea that one, people would exploit healthcare, you know, just because for funsies is always one that bugged me as an argument against it. Like, oh, if you make it too accessible, too many people are going to want to use it. When you already have so many people who, like myself, who has tremendous anxiety about it and really only does it when I need to. That being said, anything gets in my way, it's a real easy journey from, oh, I can't figure that out. Okay, I guess I just won't do the thing and take my chances.
Yeah.
But I also think we don't have an agreed upon standard of care in this country because we don't have a centralized system. So there's wildly different advice and treatments and protocols that doctors will give patients, and it can be all over the place. You know, it also opens up the door for, you know, I mentioned them earlier, the anti-vaxxers, but our system actually encourages that behavior. It encourages people to look into their peer group for medical information, because it is difficult to obtain care, and then it's difficult a lot of times talking to medical professionals. Frankly, if you want to get rid of the anti-vaxxers,
easy to never go to the doctor for any reason, and therefore never be told you ought to get vaccine. Like, the only way we can compel vaccines, and the like where this whole anti-vax war is going down, is in state-run schools. We require it for students. The only way we even intervene in people's lives to say, oh, you must get vaccinated, is with a state-run institution. It happens to be the education system that we've attached this onto. But if we had a world where it was just like, yeah, you fucking go to the doctor once or twice a year if you're feeling fine, and more if you're not feeling fine, and it's free, and it's just a thing that you do.
Well, and I'm an extremist again on all things, but I think it should include enjoyable preventative care. Like, I think it shouldn't just be if you don't feel good or if you feel fine, just get checked out. I think you should be entitled to, like, massage therapy.
Oh, yeah, no, I was just saying, like, if the norm was in the same way, I don't know, like, children of certain ages go to school for X amount of time, it was similarly normal that everyone just went to the doctor now and again, like, as a bare baseline. at least we'd know there'd be a medical person in people's lives going, oh yeah, you should also get vaccines. Yeah, they can argue about it then, but like otherwise you're never even going to be to a doctor who will say, oh yeah, you're due for this vaccine.
Yeah. Do you want to try?
We are never calling Rick.
Yeah, I feel like this is going to just be a bit that we never do it.
I want to call
I
Rick.
kind of like the bit quality of this being an eternal Brick joke of ours.
But then I feel like we could make it a premium content situation.
I'm calling him.
All right, we'll see if he answers. He's on Bumble.
Can you hear us, Rick?
Yeah, I can hear you.
So tell us quickly, how you dealing with coronavirus?
Oh, man. Well, today was kind of different, man. Like, for the first time in a while, I was kind of panicking because everybody in the office was kind of like, was on some germaphobe tip today. So it kind of got me moving a little different today. So as soon as I got home, I just went in my apartment, just cleaned up the whole apartment. I just wiped it down with bleach. Damn near choked myself. I ran out of the damn apartment, so.
Oh, yeah, I read that you choked yourself on bleach.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Pure bleach, and just, I'm ridiculous right now. You know, I was actually supposed to go on a date, but I canceled that because the person that I was supposed to go out with, was coughing up a storm, and like.
Wait. Did she cancel it, or did you hear her cough and say nah?
I mean, I came up with an excuse like, yo, I got things to, I don't know, I was, working at home, so I had to cancel that. I couldn't do it, yo. Just couldn't do it.
So coronavirus.
I would have to go, and I have to pick her up in the car. I just can't do it. I don't know anything about this virus, so, I know I'm ignorant, but hey, better safe than sorry.
So coronavirus affected your Bumble life.
Yes, that's like the conversation right now. Like someone say, hey, how'd you make it this far? I'm like, I have no idea. I don't know what tomorrow brings, so
Relevant.
I'm just kind of taking a day at a time.
Relevant. We are all aware that Pornhub is doing free premium for Italy right now.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Did you hear that, Rick? Italy is doing free Pornhub for people.
That's amazing. That would never be here, though. They want to shut down Pornhub.
Oh, you don't think they'll give it to us here?
Hell no.
Have you ever paid for Pornhub, Rick? Get real.
Well,
Who's paid?
this is premium Pornhub, number one. Number two, this might be a good time to discuss our sponsor, something VPN. If you want to make your internet look like it's from a different country for some reason, get something VPN.
That's right.
I just want to know, like, honestly, what's the difference between, like, regular Pornhub and premium?
I have no idea.
I don't know. Like, is it like HD or, like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's longer.
I know you get into locked videos. You get into locked videos, and you get into
I've never
storylines. I assume there's storylines involved.
There's storylines in other videos that are on Pornhub.
Yeah, you get the.
Look at the storylines.
Look, some of us do.
Some
Rick.
of us
don't
Some of us read porn.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of
I
us
do
like
not
cop some
read
X
it.
and like, are interested in what's going on in their lives.
Like, back in the days, read porn? Wow.
I mean, look, as the lady on this podcast, I just want to clear up that I am not reading porn, but I know several women. Their primary consumption of porn is porny books.
I shout out to Literotica. That's been my favorite since I was
I'm
in
going to
high school.
pretend I've never heard of that website. So,
All right, well, look.
Listen, God, I gotta say this though. Like, I'm literally on Bumble and Tinder, and I'm still matching with people in this coronavirus era. And I'm like, wow.
all right, there's still hope.
Maybe you'll match with a doctor or a nurse.
Have they not wanted to meet up, and do you just sext? Do you message with people you've never met? Come on, give us the goods.
With this one person, yes, but we actually met up. We actually met up like afterwards, but I mean, most of them, like, they're not as panicky as me. I'm a bit of a germaphobe,
So
to a point, so.
So you bleach yourself.
I came home. Today was like, you should have seen me in the city. I was moving like a ninja. I didn't want anybody to touch me or talk to me or anything. So I was kind of like, went to C-Town, bought some bleach, some clean products, and just went crazy with the.
Okay, well, Rick, be careful. Bleach, don't mix it with any ammonia. It will kill you. I've had to tell this to several people. By the way, so public service announcement. Do not mix bleach and ammonia cleaning products. It can kill you.
My high school was actually evacuated due to someone doing that at one point.
Damn, that's some potent stuff. Bleach and ammonia and shit.
Okay, literally do not mix those two.
Yeah, do not.
It creates a chemical thing.
It's bad. It'll kill you like right away in a closed space. So everyone, don't
Makes
get
chloride
too
gas,
clean,
I'm fairly
okay?
certain.
I have to admit, though, I tried to get a friend of mine.
You trying to get someone to come over today?
Yeah, she was like, I was just trying to be slick, but she was like, hey, better safe than sorry, so I'm not gonna go anywhere. So I'm like, womp tonight.
Aww.
Fuck. Actually, what I'm doing now is just listening to the new J Electronic.
Oh, everyone's listening to that today. New J Electronica.
Yeah, it's definitely dope. Definitely check it out. Get a chance.
Well, this has been an amazing update, and I hope we do this again, and I hope you come and visit us in person for this.
Absolutely.
Sometime in the future.
Yeah.
We're going to get going with the podcast, but thanks for the Bumble update, Rick.
Ah, man.
What? Peace.
I felt like Rick might be somebody who, in an overabundance of being like, I'm going to kill the shit out of these germs, might have accidentally layered up a bleachy cleaning product with an ammonia one. Just don't
scrubbed
do that.
it with some aluminum foil.
Yeah, man, don't do it. It's
Make a mustard gas.
Yeah, speaking of, and also if you guys do go out, please tip these people. I know so many people who are literally going to lose their apartments if their bars shut down, and it's already been pretty rough on them. But one time I worked at a bar and I got into a fight with the manager because I was like, you mix those two things together, it could kill us, or at least, blow up a part of your pipes. And they did not believe me. I went ahead and did not mix those two chemicals together. But it was amazing to me. It was amazing that a grown adult person who was managing a restaurant was unaware, had never heard of this before. Bleach and ammonia. Not a good go. Not a good mix, guys. I don't know.
Rick is bleaching his butthole.
He's bleaching his butthole.
That's
I'm
for you,
probably
Rick.
going to get the new XCOM remix. Well, the newer XCOM to ride this out gaming, so we can have updates there.
Yes. And we're working on all the things. So I guess let's wrap up with, you want to make a prediction about whether this debate's going to happen or not?
Debate will happen. Bernie will own. Everyone will realize the error of their ways, and
it'll be like
Biden,
the end of an anime.
Yeah, Joe Biden. He's gonna lay down and own, and Joe Biden's eyes gonna start twitching, and
he's
then
gonna
he's
say
just,
Oriental by mistake.
and then
God,
he's
I
just
hope
gonna
he
fall
does.
down.
I hope he's...
Over under on Joe Biden saying Oriental or Chinaman before this is all over.
Or in a really racist way, say the word Wuhan. Wuhan!
I like how you needed to demonstrate it just to make sure it was problematic for everyone.
Wuhan!
Oh boy. Oh gosh. I don't know. I hope it happens. I hope Bernie.
It's gonna be dystopian as fuck.
What if Biden pulls one of his hey there, Jack. Let's do some fisticuffs.
All right, we gotta drink every time he says, "Hey
Jack.
there, Jack." Yeah, every time he references Corn Pop or Jack. I don't know. I think it's going to be weird without the audience.
It's going to be weird without the audience. A lot of neo-libs are already shaming our dear Bernie for not dropping out in the midst of this crisis, which is insane to me. Insane that they think it would be beneficial for us to rally behind Joe Biden, as if that in itself would help us deal with the crisis or whatever, or that we should cancel the remaining primaries. It's ridiculous out here. I say maybe, just maybe, all of this will show us like every goddamn thing that's wrong. And maybe next time we won't do this convoluted primary system. It sucks.
As Chabo said, it's halftime. He's up by a touchdown. We gotta just rally the troops and show what a demented old man that guy is.
And you know what? It wouldn't hurt those of you out there. Just
Google him.
Just Google him.
Just Google Joe Biden's
Biden.
Lifetime of corrupt money dealing and horrible choices, from Anita Hill to Iraq War to everything. Everything that has happened in the last 30 years. Crime bill. He's literally the person that made the sentencing distinction between crack and
it's
cocaine.
really, the Democratic Party's really coming apart at the seams between people who want actual, real, palpable, progressive change and people who want to feel warm and fuzzy about a memory of a politician that they have, because that's who they're voting for. They're voting for some distant memory they have of the time Joe Biden was on Parks and Recreation, not the guy who's currently operating that meat suit.
The nostalgia is just so much
hardcore
of his,
nostalgia.
So much of his persona and character is just the inability to think of an alternative or create a future.
Oh, yeah, no.
It is
100. I mean, return to normalcy. Yeah. They're not even pretending it's not.
And just this haunting specter of this, like, zombie that, you know, is the zombie of neoliberalism that hasn't been killed off yet.
Mm-hmm. Democrat,
is it a zombie or is it a werewolf?
And this is a shout out plug for Mark Fisher memes for hauntological teens.
That's right. We are exclusively we only do ads for shit posting groups that we are involved in.
And things that I just made up.
Yeah. Shout out Comrade Marianne's Tank Meme Stash. As always, the orb is strong.
All
right, guys. I hope we live another week, and
I hope I didn't get anybody coronavirus.
Look, I'm wiping down everything with my big old bottle of isopropyl alcohol.
Okay. Sounds good.
Pinko Commie Slutz.
Mike Tracy, Delinda Est.
Oh, yeah. Mike Tracy needs to be done.
Yeah. Yeah, Mike Tracy. I don't know you, but I dislike you from afar, so... This is a primary, just reminding the audience, this is primarily a beef with Mike Tracy podcast.
I was his roommate in college. Marlo was his
nemesis
in college.
Send this directly to Mike Tracy.
You Nazbol motherfucker.
Yeah. All right, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Get off my head! Get off my head! Get off my head!
Commie. Slutz.